Greetings, dreamers. Welcome to what is episode 7 of my Beyond Gaia podcast. Now, because today is a full moon in Aquarius, I, Melanie Stewart, your host, have decided to share with you 2 episodes because it is a full moon in Aquarius and I am a fellow Aquarian. So therefore I felt excited to share with you another one of my astral projection experiences. Each one of the experiences are a transmission within themselves, so I hope that you are sitting back and relaxing and enjoy the immersion of this experience. Please let me know if you have any questions down in the comments. There are no wrong questions, there are no silly questions. I welcome your questions and I welcome your feedback. So I feel today to just dive straight into the experience as I value very much your time. And what I am wishing to share with you today is an experience that I had some time ago that has imprinted itself on me in a very profound and expansive way. It's an experience that's very near and dear to my heart and that opened my heart to understand more of myself. So I felt to share this experience with you. And it is aboard a YahYel craft with one of my YahYel counterparts. For those that may not know, the YahYel are known as being the 5th hybrid race. And remember, what I'm sharing with you is a summary, so I do my best to draw upon the experience, the memories in this now, and summarize for you so that you can feel the essence of what it is that I'm sharing. So with each of my astral projection experiences, I do so from sitting comfortably upon my bed. I sit upright. It's important to have the back straight. It's important to be sitting up so that you don't fall asleep because this is a conscious experience. For me, when I close my eyes and I have the intention of entering an astral projection state, it happens for me very quickly. And as I've mentioned prior, sometimes I'm aware of where I'm actually needing to go, and other times I surrender to the experience that is the most relevant for me. And even though I have one main experience that I'm wishing to share with you, I'm going to share first a few other experiences so I can set the scene for you to understand the greater experience. Now, I was sitting on my bed and I astral projected myself aboard because in this instance I could feel that there was an invitation there upon a craft that I know as being the craft of my YahYel counterpart. Now her name is Anna or Anu, and she does go by many other names because she is a very otherworldly, diverse, extremely multidimensional being of the YahYel. I would say that she's a more ancient being of the YahYel. And her craft to me, right from when I first started astral projecting, felt very natural. It was one of the first places that I would astral project when it came to visiting a craft. And I had an immediate sense of familiarity to her craft. I knew my way around. And when I'm in that environment, once again, I don't need to know why I know my way around. For me, it is quite obvious that I've spent a lot of time on this craft. And the astral projection enables me to become more conscious of somewhere that I've already been spending a lot of my time, what seems to be within the astral dream state, so when I'm not conscious, when I'm sleeping. And also I have had some conscious visits since I was a child to this craft. So I visited her craft on this one particular evening. via a conscious astral state, and I knew that I was there at the time for healing. I was going through a very deep transformational process, as many of us do, and I actually felt there was an invitation for me to attend healing. Now, I don't have memory of many healing invitations to go aboard a craft to heal in this way. So this felt quite new to me. And as I was on the craft, and there is this main room, or this main, it's almost like if there were to be a foyer upon a ship, that is the best way I could describe it. And it's circular. For me, I see a sacred geometry pattern within the floor of the ship, and that's lit up with light and plasma and vibration. And when I land myself within this familiar room, which is where I land a lot of the time, not always, you can feel straight away the ship responding to you, because the ship is an extension of a crystalline extension of the higher self that has been crystallized in to be a ship. So there is the higher self consciousness in a way that is the ship itself. I don't feel like I'm explaining this very well in this moment, but that's okay. Bear with me. So upon landing on the ship, I see the sacred geometry in the floor, and you feel the ship respond to you. You can feel the consciousness that's communicating with you. For me, it's always very welcoming. There's always a exciting feel, a feeling of coming home. And as I'm standing there, and it's a very large round room, I feel drawn to, and when you are in the astral projection state, your senses, because you are more in your greater self, because you are working more closely with the higher self and choosing the next frame, your sense of self and what is the next frame, your intuition, your knowing is very heightened. And I felt instantly drawn to sort of turn to my right and head down a small corridor that was lit with what I would consider to be an aqua blue color. And I saw down this corridor, it was very short, this entrance to what appeared to be a very large room. And as I've entered this room, which happened very effortlessly, it was, and that's where when you know also it's where you're needing to be, because there's no way that you can end up somewhere that you're not meant to be within the astral projection, because it won't lead you very far. Doors won't open, the next frame won't shift. You'll find yourself in a dead end if you're somehow creating something that isn't what's the most relevant for you or for your highest good. I go through this room and I see before me this very large pyramid-like structure. However, and I don't have the name of what the structure is called in my mind right now, but it is the pyramid type structure that has the cone base or the circle base. It would be similar to what a teepee would look like. However, this large structure that is in front of me is crystalline in nature. It is faceted like you would see a faceted gem or crystal or diamond even. And I look around the room and there's many beings in the room that don't seem to be surprised that I'm there. And I have one being that greets me right now, and this now because I haven't spent a lot of time with her, I don't remember her name, but she's very familiar to me. She has a spiral within a white jumpsuit that she's wearing, and she has a pearlescent spiral that's over her heart space on her jumpsuit. She's very gentle and she's very nurturing. And so you can see how in itself this small amount that I'm sharing with you about her, the fact that she's wearing white, there's the spiral over her heart, it's pearlescent and sort of lets off this sort of pearlescent sort of sheen that comes from her heart, how her energy in itself is very conducive of somebody that would be in a healing chamber. And she invites me to lie down on this bed, and this bed is crystalline in itself, and the bed is when I lay down on it, it's not a hard surface. I feel the bed almost like a plasma gel type feeling where it sort of molds to my body. And I also see colors within the bed that are glowing and that are moving, and I lie down on this bed. I'm feeling very safe at this point. In fact, I feel drawn to lay down and to be inside this chamber. I can feel the cells of my body responding, knowing that this is what I am needing. There are other beings in the room that I don't need to pay a lot of attention to apart from one. And as I lay down on the bed, I notice him on my right, out of my peripheral vision. And he, to me, is Syrian. He looks like he has a very, very pale blue skin. He has a larger head with a crease going down his forehead. And I can feel he has a screen in front of him, like a glass screen that he is working from, and I can feel that he is related to, his work specializes in the genetic structure and DNA and the biology of the body, and I could feel that he was very specialized. And I could also feel that he was a counterpart of mine. And I haven't drawn on this memory for a while, so please forgive me as I'm finding the words for some of the experience. So I'm laying down on this bed, and as I notice this very intelligent, very gifted being that appears Syrian to my right. Right beside the bed is this female with the spiral over her heart that is very close to me. She's holding my hand. She's ensuring that I'm comfortable. She's smiling at me, not just with her mouth, but with her eyes. And I can feel how genuine she is, and that there is an authenticity that's radiating from her. I feel very safe and very comfortable in their hands. As I lie down, I'm looking up and I can see the enormity of this crystalline structure that I'm lying in, and the inside of it, the facets are even more obvious to me, and there is these fractals of rainbow light, like looking at a diamond in the light and seeing different fractals of light coming from it. And this is happening and there's dozens and dozens and dozens, hundreds of these that line the inside of this structure. And from here, I don't remember a lot more apart from, meaning I don't remember the healing experience. All I remember then is that my eyes close, and the next thing I actually feel is if I am floating in a body of water. And that body of water is the body of water is full. I'm surrounded by jasmine flowers, and I can smell their fragrance. It's uplifting, it's beautiful, the water is very calm, and I do feel that there are some beings in the water with me, and I feel drops of water that are coming down over my forehead. I feel at times my body being held really gently underneath, even though I'm mostly floating. And it was a very freeing experience. There was a lot of release, of letting go. It was very harmonious and an experience that isn't often felt in human form, where there was a complete feeling of surrender in those moments that I was there. I was surrendering to more of myself. I was surrendering to the healing that was taking place. I was surrendering of any need to know, and essentially purely just letting go and being very present with myself. And that in itself was very healing for me. It opened a doorway for me to feel more supported in this way, and that I can visit the ship within an astral state when there is a need for healing, when I am actually needing support. It was something that I felt right down into my physical for weeks and weeks afterwards. And I share this experience with you so that you can sort of understand the next bigger experience that I'm going to share with you. But before I go there, I would like to explain that this craft, as I said, belongs to Ana or Anu of the YahYel. And I have had many experiences where I have visited the craft and found myself in what I would consider to be her room, or her personal room, or her personal chamber. And from this personal room or personal chamber looks, at times, it doesn't always look this way, but at times it looks very Egyptian, Sumerian, Babylonian. There is that type of essence. Those timelines seem to be imprinted within her personal space. And I found myself in here many times. And then from this room, there has been what would be like a doorway or an opening out to a balcony. But it's not balcony. It's difficult to find the words to explain it, but it is like a balcony. And there are many times that I've ventured out there, and I find her sitting out there, knowing that she was waiting for me to see that if I would find her. And for a long time, I would sit beside her on this balcony and not actually see her face. And there's a reason for that. She kept me in the mystery for a long time, as I was not needing to know the details of what she looked like, but allowing myself to explore her essence, to explore my own essence. So I became more of a vibrational match so that I could meet her face to face. She is a very mysterious being. She's not the type of being that just shows herself in front of me wide-eyed and with a big smile and arms open. That's not to say that that isn't her essence, but she has an elegance to her. There is a feeling of royalty to her. There is a feeling of her being very poised, deeply wise, ancient, and like I said, very, very mysterious. And many of the times when I set out on this sort of balcony with her, I found myself shifting in the frames, like a movie was playing in front of me, of seeing inside different castles, temples, ancient architecture, pyramids, and I would find myself like I was shifting through all these different timelines. And when I asked her through telepathy as to what was happening and why I was experiencing it this way, she explained to me that I was moving through the vast amount of dimensions that actually exist within her. And that seems to be something that happens when I connect with her essence, that I shift through all of these dimensions of her being and the many different timelines that she's existed in. And it's really something remarkable to experience. And again, it is something, given that you're in an astral state, it helps with not needing to know the details. You're in a space of purely witnessing and experiencing without the mind needing to intervene or without the mind needing to bring logic in. So there is more allowing, which is really beautiful, and that teaches our human self a lot, especially our human lower mental mind and the ego. So these are some of the very vast experiences that I've had with her. I've had a very deep experience with Isis that I will perhaps share on another time. And when that experience with Isis within the astral came to a close, the frame shifted, and then I found myself standing in Anna's chamber, her room again, and she was standing there holding a staff, and she was wearing the headdress like Isis. And that was the first time that I really got to see within these deep sapphire blue eyes that she has, and see more of what she looked like face to face. And in those moments, when I saw her like that face to face, you feel yourself drop. You feel yourself melt. Anything that is there that is resisting, or that is just glimmers of that lower mental self, just drop away. And in her presence, you're feeling very vulnerable and raw, but at the same time, more of yourself in her presence. That's how I felt. She wears sapphire blue. I see her wearing blue. She has chestnut colored hair that's long. I would say that she looks roughly sort of middle-aged, but she's timeless. I have visited early timelines of her where she's much younger, but she looks timeless. And there is an air and a grace to her. She's very graceful. So that is a little bit about Anna and some of the experiences that I've had with her. Now I actually wish to share with you a summary of what I would consider to be one of the deepest, heart activating healing experiences I've had upon a craft. And of course, this has happened upon her craft. I had, again, astral projected myself upon her craft. And I was looking around for the healing room that I'd actually visited in another experience, the one that I shared for you. Again, I could feel the need for healing. And what happens within the astral is that room that had been available to me prior was no longer there. And that's what can happen within the astral. When it's not relevant for you, it doesn't present in the frame. And remembering you're working within a projection that you're co-creating with your higher self and any other beings that are actually involved in this co-creation with you, that on a higher level you have summoned to be part of this experience with you. So that room didn't present as I'd experienced before. And And I was looking to my right where I'd found it last time, and instead I had this feeling come over me to face the opposite direction. And as I did, I saw this large light opening and what appeared to be stairs coming from the craft, looking like stairs, but they're different, and leading outside. And there was this huge light around this opening. And then I saw a young girl. She looked approximately 5 to 6 years old, and I saw her gently running down the stairs. Even though I could only see the back of her head, my heart recognized her instantly. And I'm feeling emotional sharing this with you because the experience is still very much with me as I'm tapping back in, dialing into this experience. I recognized her instantly, that she is a younger version of myself, that she is my hybrid child self. I stood at the top of the stairs and looked out to see a beautiful, natural, thriving environment. It was very lush, it was very green, very picturesque. And I saw my hybrid child self sitting, playing, talking with elemental beings. And I also recognized this beautiful reality that I was looking at as another home for me. It felt very familiar. Anna in herself lives in what we would consider to be, the best way of describing it would be a parallel version of Earth, being Gaia's preferred frequency. I know that Anna's role in this now is to be the root or the anchor of Gaia's preferred frequency and that of the YahYel collective. So as I'm standing at the top of these stairs, looking out with so much curiosity at my hybrid child self playing, I heard a telepathic voice, Anna's voice, say to me, and at this point I couldn't see Anna, I could just hear her voice, "You can go to her." And as I approached my hybrid child self, as I went down the stairs and went out to where she was sitting amongst nature, she knew who I was. Again, she spoke to me telepathically. And what activated me the most was her pure happiness and joy. A pure happiness that I had seemed to lose over the years, and what we can lose as humans, and especially as we become adults. I am somebody that has my childhood memories have been mostly traumatic. And so for me to sit and see her in this pure happiness and this joy was, helped me to see that there actually was and is a very real version of myself that's a child that's incredibly happy and joyful. This young version of myself is very gifted. She's powerful and wise in the most playful ways. I can see her sitting there, and she knows, even though she's a young child, she knows who she is. When she is in this environment, when she is aboard Anna's craft, she is nurtured to be herself, including all of her gifts and abilities. And you can see that she knows that about herself. You can see that she knows who she is the best way I can describe this. She asked me why I carried sadness and that she could help. I cried tears of joy as we communicated, and I sat down to play with her. She gifted me with her vision to see my essence in the way that she sees it, and it ignited happy childhood memories within myself, not just of this moment, but other memories that had been there from other timelines that had been suppressed through the traumatic timelines and experiences, there being more of those. So they'd come to the forefront, and where there was happiness and joy, I couldn't see it, and now I could. I understood the powerful healing that was taking place between us. I have done inner child work before, but this was very different. It was visceral and has also allowed for many other memories for me to pour forth. I turned to look up at the stairs, and I could see the scope of the craft and saw Anna watching over us. She was standing there in this light watching us, and I could feel her joy and felt a healing invitation to move through different younger versions of myself in my time to bridge this into my now, and I graciously accepted. As I share this with you, I feel very expanded and raw, and also emotional, feeling into this experience and how much of a catalyst this experience was for me to bring more integration and healing to timelines and to visit the inner child in a different way to what I'd actually done previously. This experience, as I hope that you can feel, and this is truly what the essence of astral projection is that you can have these experiences that are always the most relevant for what you are needing to heal timelines and to integrate and to understand more of yourself and where you're at with yourself. This opened for me ways of astral projecting to many, many, many other timelines where I would visit versions of myself, almost like you are going back in time, but there is no time. So you are going to alternate timelines because everything's happening in the now. And I would land out the front of a childhood house that I grew up, and I would look through the bedroom window and see the version of myself, and then I would gently make my way into the house and to be with that version of myself. And it's not about healing her or fixing her or seeing anything wrong. It is showing up for that version of yourself, to be for that version of yourself what nobody else was able to be for you in that moment, in those times. To be unconditional, to be the observer, to be the listener, to witness, to offer support if it is welcomed, yes, for sure. And to allow that version of you, when you are visiting these aspects that are still in a wounded and traumatized state, or even in a state of just sadness or some form of difficulty or challenge, you become, in those moments, the guide for them. You become the beacon of light. You become the invitation for them to take your hand in their own perfect, unique time. It may be on the first visit. It may be after a dozen visits. It may be when you're not visiting at all, but you're simply leading by example in your life now, that they choose to be inspired, that they choose to remember that there is no separation, that they can live more fully and joyfully and peacefully and more inspired like this version of you. So I had no intention of going here where I'm going now. It's truly not the reason for me sharing my experience, but I am in the process of putting together classes and workshops that will run, for example, over a period of about 6 weeks, once a week, perhaps even once a fortnight. I'm still fine-tuning the details, where I will teach how you can actually astral project very safely without opening the emotional door, which is very important to those beings that are experiencing a great deal of emotion, to be able to integrate those timelines, but also how to work more consciously with different versions of yourself. So whether that be what we would consider to be past, or also what we would consider to be future timelines, because there is a version of you and there's a version of I that is much more healed and integrated, or living her path or her greatest joy, that may be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And you in this now have the ability to be able to access that wisdom, that guidance, to be that healer for yourself, remembering that we are acting in this now as that center pillar that can actually access all those other timelines through the great continuum that we are. So I will share when that is up and that's available, when I'm offering that, but it is something that I'm very passionate about, given that I've experienced a lot of challenges. I am very inspired to be able to share ways that we truly can be there to support ourselves unconditionally, and to do so as a multidimensional being that does have access to other versions of yourself. So that is my heart on this day, on this full moon in Aquarius, sharing with you what was some very intimate experiences. It has just been a summary, but I hope that this summary has allowed you to feel into the essence of the transmission, to know that whether you are conscious of it or not, that you are always supported by many other beings, yes, but you are also greatly supported by more of you. There is a version of you now that is upline, however many years and what we would consider to be the future, who is supporting you now, who perhaps is the one that led you to be listening to this podcast. Hoping that you may remember that there is a version of you that is those things that you desire, and that she wishes to support you in leaning more into that vibration, so that you are a product of your future, rather than for so long we've lived as a product of our past, of the things that have happened to us. So I thank you very much for your time and for joining me and staying with me for this long in this transmission. As I've actually said previously, please let me know if you have any questions, comments, feedback. I welcome it. I thank you so much for your support. If you have enjoyed this, a like means a lot. It means that this will be seen by more people. And if you feel the need to share this, and it could support somebody else or inspire somebody else, I would be very grateful if you would do that. I hope that your week is full of wonder and joy and inspiration. And most importantly, we thank you for being you just as you are in this now. Our unconditional love and appreciation. Bye for now.